and the Executive Director for the Salina Airport Authority, which operates the Salina Regional Airport and Salina Airport Industrial Center since 1985. So it's been well over 30 years, and a good part of my tenure as Executive Director has involved environmental remediation issues that we're getting close to finalizing and getting resolved.
I've been city manager for about 11 and a half years. The source of the issue really goes back to the Air Force Base that had closed in the early 60s, and the use of solvents that they had applied and probably at the time didn't really realize were a problem. And as time fast forwarded, we did recognize those were a problem. And because it was a formerly used defense site, we were working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, whose responsibility would be to analyze the problem and clean up the problem.
The only way that the Salina public entities could see that we could effect a comprehensive investigation and site cleanup, ultimate site cleanup, was to sue the United States of America and the Department of Defense in order to receive the funding necessary to start and complete without the obstacle of counting on or relying upon in annual appropriations by Congress to any federal agency.
We obviously, when we looked at this, there was a time we came to the conclusion that we needed what I kind of consider a higher level scientific and technology support for this. So what we did is we looked at various companies who provided those types of consulting services, and Dragun really rose to the top.
We're involved at a site in Salina, Kansas. It's the former Schilling Air Force Base. The government gave the base to the community. Under a program called Formerly Used Defense Sites, or FUDS, the government came back because they were finding contamination. When we got involved in the site, we were asked to come in and peer review reports that were generated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers through this FUDS program. And they'd been at the site for approximately 10 years investigating, and they had come to what are now our clients in the city of Salina, Salina Airport Authority, Kansas State University, and the United School District, and said, here's the situation. You have trichloroethylene in your groundwater. It's traveling towards your water supply. Our clients had reservations as to whether this was an accurate reporting of what was going on. It probably wasn't 125 years before it could get to their water supply. It was something more in the 20-year range, which certainly got this community's attention.
People basically were gathering data and not spending a lot of effort on putting it all together. There was an amazing amount of TCE used. They basically sprayed with power washers the bombers that came back every day, and let that TCE flow across the concrete and into the ground. Nobody knew that it was going to create a problem 50 years down the road. Right now we know, after working on the site for 3 years, doing our investigations, there are 11 plumes of TCE and other chemicals. Some of them are miles long, they're deep, they're in rock. We never knew that before. So there were a lot of things that were unknown, and that you couldn't fairly evaluate what the cost of cleanup was until we knew all this information. We had to come up with the magnitude of the problem, the aerial extent, the vertical extent, how quickly the chemicals were moving, distribution of chemicals, and so on. We reviewed thousands of pages of documents from previous studies and tried to come up with a comprehensive model. When we get involved in projects that are environmental issues, we try to put our arms around the project. When we got involved, there really wasn't a good understanding of a number of those aspects. We're talking about a site that had an amazing amount of chemical contamination. We had to get this done within about 3 years in order to meet our deadline. So we used a lot of innovative techniques that helped us do real-time analysis of the information. We had our people in the field, the geologists, all used iPads to take notes, and they could send those notes to us real-time. But we also could innovate as we saw the data come in.
What I've learned through this process is that partnering with an excellent environmental consulting firm is essential. That firm, such as Dragun, enables, in our case, the community, the Salina public entities, to be as best prepared as we possibly can. We know we've got the best to help us explain, the extent of contamination, risk involved with any contamination, and how it will be cleaned up and managed going forward. So what I have learned is that, hire the best, work with the best, and you'll get the best results.